Hello everyone, Steve from stevezanella.com. How are you today? I am doing well. Today we got our first snowfall. Actually, it was last night overnight. What we like to call as a dusting, less than an inch here in New England. But it's beautiful. Everything's starting to get crisp. You know, you get those cold mornings. And whenever the temperature changes, whether it gets really warm or really cold, I enjoy that. And here's why I enjoy that. And this circles into something I want to talk about real quickly today about how you can use mindfulness to overcome your anxiety. And when I say overcome, I don't mean, and I want to be clear about this, that you're never going to have anxiety again, because anxiety is a normal feeling. You're going to have it the rest of your life. We here talk about changing our relationship with that anxiety. So how can you not worry so much or allow your anxiety, especially when you have an anxiety disorder where you seem to worry about everything, how can you use mindfulness to help battle against that sort of compulsive negative thinking? And here's how it works. Really super simple. When you are mindful, you are completely in the moment. You are focusing on what is happening at this precise moment. When you're doing that, it is impossible to be in the future or be back in the past mentally if you are locked into the present moment. So while you are present, you are not worrying about the future. You are not worrying or regretting about the past. You are completely dialed into this present moment. And while you are not without thought, because your mind never stops thinking, the thoughts that you are having, they're working to analyze the present moment. And you can aid those by staying locked in the present moment, by staying consciously aware of what is currently happening right now. You take your mind and you focus it. You focus it away. Well, I shouldn't say you focus it away, and I'm glad I accidentally said that. You're focusing on something. You're always focusing on something. The idea that you can think about not thinking about something is one of the biggest illusions and one of the hardest lessons to learn when dealing with anxiety. We constantly think in our mind, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to have anxiety. I don't want to have a panic attack. I don't want to worry. I don't want to think about what happens if something goes wrong. That is thinking about all of those things. Just because you put a don't in front of it, or I shouldn't in front of it, you're still thinking about them. So it is impossible to think about not thinking about something. So you need to realize that it is about focus. It is about where you're placing your attention. So when you are mindful, you are placing your attention, your thoughts, focused on the present moment. Now, some people may say that's great, but how do you do it? How are you mindful? Simple. Cold weather. When you step out, some people hate cold weather. They go out, it's cold, it's snowy, it's slippery. They completely get irritated. They focus their thoughts on, I wish it was warmer. They resist what is actually happening. And as they say, what you resist persists. So when you think about how you don't want something, you're focusing all your attention on the negative aspects of what is currently happening. So instead, use your senses to analyze what is going on and what it feels like. Mindfulness is simply just a conscious awareness. So when you step outside and it's cold, feel the cold on your face, feel it on your skin. Try to really focus your attention and analyze. If you had to explain to someone what it felt like to be really cold, how would you do it? What does it really feel like? Process all of those emotions. Process all of those physical feelings. Our physical senses are the key to being mindful. They are gifts that keep us locked in the present moment. So when you step outside and it's cold, put your hand in snow. When was the last time you made a snowball? If you're hopefully live somewhere where there is snow. Feel what it feels like. When you start to really get into the sensations that you have, they're pretty amazing. You can pick up something that's really, really cold, and have you ever noticed that it sort of feels really, really hot? That's kind of a really cool thing that our brains do. We process these feelings, we organize this information in such a way. I mean, our brain does it for survival. You know, if you didn't feel cold, you wouldn't know that the temperature was dropping and that you needed to find shelter. You know, everything that our mind does, everything that we process is for survival. But when you can feel the snow and feel the breeze and feel the weight of your foot as it steps and then sinks and the snow compacts underneath each step, all of those sensations, all of those work to lock you into the present moment. And you can do this with anything. With me, when I used to get panic attacks in meetings, I would put my hands flat down on the table and I would mentally analyze what it felt like, or I'd put my hand on my thigh and I would try to feel the difference between my hand feeling my thigh and my thigh feeling my hand, because both parts of your body have the ability to sense that touch. And can you separate those two? Does it become one? Are you feeling them from two different parts of your body? All of this analysis works to focus your mind on the present moment. People talk about mindful eating. If you're eating a meal, slow down and take each bite and try to process what each taste is like. How would you explain it? Is it sweet? Is it salty? Is it spicy? Is it bitter? Are there other words that you could use? Is it metallic? Is it chalky? You know, what words can you use? How can you analyze the present experience you're having? And that is mindfulness. Now, one of the things you want to try to avoid is judging whether I like or I don't like. This is pleasant or it isn't pleasant, as much as you're simply trying to take in all of the information and experience it. Again, it's about awareness. It's about being present and simply taking in the sensations without labeling them as good or bad, positive or negative. So this practice of mindfulness, this practice of keeping your attention locked in on the present moment, that is how you avoid a lot of the anxious worry and thought that you have, because what you're doing is you're taking your mind, and instead of it being focused on what you're worrying about, it becomes focused on analyzing the present moment. And when you begin to analyze the present moment, what a byproduct of that is that you're no longer thinking about what you're worrying about. You're no longer fixated. And what'll happen is the first few times you do this, it'll be really amazing that it'll happen, and then you'll become aware about what you're not thinking about, and the moment that happens, you're thinking about it again, and you've lost that place. And that's okay. The idea of practicing mindfulness, what that basically means is the more you practice staying in the present moment, the easier it becomes and the longer you can stay focused on that present moment. And if you can extend that amount of time that you're locked into that present moment, it means that there's a longer amount of time that you're not taken away by your obsessive thinking. It's longer amounts of time that you're focused on what is happening now rather than what might happen in the future. And you can use the same technique and the same principle of mindfulness over your anxiety while you're having it. Sit and analyze the feelings you're having. What does it feel like to be in that panic state? Where are you feeling it? Again, by going into that analytical thinking, what you're doing is you're engaging another part of your brain. But you're also changing the focus of your thinking by focusing on something as opposed to trying to just shift that thinking away from something. Because again, the more you think about what you don't want to think of, the more you think of it. So I always tell people, and I've gotten such a huge benefit out of the practice of mindfulness. I always try to engage people in conversation about it and explain to them that it is something that everyone can do. It is actually an incredibly simple process. It's not easy because we have so many distractions and so much in our society and in our world and in our realities that are constantly vying for our attention, constantly pulling us in a different direction. But if you can learn through breathing techniques, through meditation, through practices of being mindful, through focusing your attention, you can gain back control over so many aspects of your life that when you suffer from anxiety or worry, you feel that you've completely lost control of. But it takes time and it takes practice. So think about what I've said here. Think about, just try it. I mean, don't take my word for it. Like I always say, don't believe me just because I'm saying it. Try it. Next time you have a meal, focus on trying to mentally describe the tastes. How would you explain it to someone who had never experienced it? What words or phrases would you use? Really, experience what taste feels like. And I know that sounds strange, but that's what it is. You're using your taste buds in your mouth to feel the tastes. Experience that. Spend a little time in your own head focused on understanding and experiencing that as it's happening. You can do it with touch. You can do it with hearing. You can do it with sight. Seeing how deeply you can look into something and find a pattern and really focus on the details within something. That's how you use your eyes for mindfulness. Your ears. See how far away you can hear sounds as they're happening. Can you hear birds chirping way off in the distance? How subtle can these sounds be and still hear them? One meditation practice that I do is I'll ring a singing bowl, and I will listen to that sound ring off in the distance, and I will try to focus my hearing to the point of how soft can that sound get where I can still hear it. All of these things work to develop your practice of being in the present moment and being mindful. And the more you work on these things, the easier it becomes to get there, to be mindful of the moment that you're in. And more importantly, it naturally takes you away from that obsessive, anxiety-filled monkey mind, as the Buddhists call it, that are constantly jumping from fearful thought to fearful thought. So that's my thoughts for today on mindfulness and how to use mindfulness to overcome your anxiety. I hope you have an amazing day. I say that a lot. I rewatched a couple of my videos and I find myself always saying, I hope you have an amazing day 2 or 3 times, but I really do. Our lives are such gifts, and I've learned to appreciate them in a way that I never did before. And I hope that you can as well, because it's something that I really want everyone to experience, the beauty that life has to offer. And, we're all so blessed to be here to have these experiences afforded to us. Some of them might not feel great, but we get to experience them, and there's a gift in that. And I hope that you're able to find that gift and see it for what it is and experience it with the gratitude and the love that we're all destined to have at some point, whether here or, on the next plane as we move on in this crazy journey. So on that note, I will say, I hope you have an amazing day. I love you all very much. and we'll talk again soon.